And we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bearded Men of Real Estate Show. I'm Ray. Say hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
And this is Dan, and we are both real estate agents who have beards. And that's why we have a show called the Bearded Men of Real Estate Show. So thank you guys for joining us so much. If you are watching us live, which we try to go live Wednesdays at 12 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Dan time, 1 o'clock East Coast. What's that? Mountain time is like 11. It's kind of all over the place, but you could also put those in order and restate them, whatever.
Yeah.
So we try to go live about lunch or brunch time so that you can join the show and then you can add your comments. And when you do add those comments, we can talk about you or those comments. So if you're joining us live, please feel free to do that. If you're watching the replay, you can also comment on the replay because we get notifications of those comments and we can jump into the conversation later too. So don't forget that. We are also broadcasting on the YouTube. So if you are watching on Facebook and are like, man, I wish those guys would just put this live on YouTube. It's live on YouTube now. So you can find it.
If you comment over on YouTube, it will appear here. So we'll see all your comments. Yeah. So don't feel like you can lurk just because you're on YouTube. No, you got to comment too.
It goes both places. And I think we're also live in places like RETV and a couple of other real estate groups. We would also appreciate it if you would share the show. But if you comment on those, we cannot display it. So be sure you click the link and then join us over here. And I know you guys are lurking. Like I can see how many people are watching now. So go ahead and comment so I can at least have an example to show people what it's like when people comment. Oh, there he goes. I think she's always the first comment. Hey, dude.
I know.
What's up, Melissa? Thanks for commenting.
The only one that gets a pass is my father, Norm. That's it. He's the only one that gets a pass.
I need Norm to jump into the conversation.
I think he has. Remember when I had disclosed that he's a lurker because I know he watches, but there you go, 2. What?
There you go. Hey. Oh, we have a couple.
Oh, good. So you call people out and they stop lurking. There we go. He meant to say yo, not two.
Oh, okay. David says yo. Eric Edge jumping in. So thank you guys.
No, but I believe that I had called him out and he did comment. I was like, whoa, Norm like typed into a keyboard. Whoa.
That's right. And you can also favorite the show. What that does is it will let the Facebook algorithm know that you guys are enjoying the show, and then it puts it out in front of other people, and so then we get more conversation, which is going to be really important for today's show because we have an article about the buyer agent compensation and how the National Association of Realtors, Realogy, Keller Williams, and some other big companies are getting sued. And we're going to talk about the implication of that lawsuit. We covered the lawsuit when it was filed way back when. There was a NAR filed for dismissal. We're going to talk about what happened when they filed and what the next steps might be for buyer agent compensation and what it might look like. We're going to talk about Opendoor and some news that came out about them being under investigation from the FTC.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about the days on market for homes being 2 weeks faster than they were last year. So if you're a real estate agent and watching, Dan is going to cover this article, and we kind of want to know what the average days on market for last September, just for those 30 days or 31 days, 30, whatever, just 30. For that month versus the average days on market for last month.
Right.
And we want to see what those are and compare it to the national news story that we're going to be talking about. There we go. Jason Bates, hello from YT land.
Look at that.
Hey,
so Jason. It actually works.
Yeah, it does actually work. Someone got a notification. Michael Elizabeth Rodell said, I'll lurk if I want to. No way, Jose. No lurkers. We love conversation. Daisy Carver, I just got here. What should I comment about? Well, that's a good start.
It's a great start.
Jessica, first time caller. Will you be doing the collab with the Homegirls Co? Thanks. I have to say that's coming up soon. The collaboration you've all been waiting for. So if you've not heard, Dan and I both appeared on the Homegirls Co podcast at different times. And they got into it with Dan, and then they got into it with me. And I don't know if my episode's out yet, but we will be doing a collab because these are real estate. They're real estate chicks. We're real estate bros. And we're going to be doing a collab live with the Homegirls Co., in which we're going to talk about some of these real estate. We actually have a news story that came up today that we said, no, we're going to wait until the collab to talk about that with them.
Yeah, because so the Paige says hi. The in Homegirls Co. It's not for disco, although that would be cool too. It's for Colorado. They're all in Colorado, and they're all top producing women that just kick ass. They're all straight up kick ass agents and just awesome human beings. And if you haven't heard my episode or seen it, you need to go, because
it's out.
I get pretty real. I think it was about 2 months ago now, but I get pretty real with a lot of things, not just business. I go a little bit outside of that too. So there's a little bit about me. I don't share everything on I don't share anything on Facebook anymore other than the show, but
it's true.
I did get pretty real. It's pretty awesome. And I don't know if Ray's is out yet, but I want to listen to that one.
Yeah, we got to find it. Patrick Ellis, Ellis Home Section, said, bros, howdy. He's probably either on his lunch break or under a house somewhere. So thanks for joining the show, Patrick.
Just a subtle glow from under a house.
A little cell phone glow.
Wait, what if he's eating lunch under a house watching the show?
Well, it happens, you know.
Yeah.
It's busy days for everyone in real estate. Mike Elizabeth Rose said, dang it, I wish I wasn't showing homes right now. Maybe if I drive really slow between homes. Yeah, right? Especially this first article. It's a doozy.
Yeah.
All right. Dan, before we get into these articles, though, would you tell people what Be More is actually all about?
I'd love to. You know, when Ray and I met here on the interwebs over 3 years ago now, I had an idea for a show because I am, in fact, a gloriously getting a little out of hand bearded man of real estate.
I need a trim.
I haven't trimmed it I haven't trimmed it since the Rona hit. But when I met Ray, I noticed something very interesting about him.
Oh?
He used to be a pro surfer from Arkansas.
You know, with all the rivers and lakes that Arkansas had, surfing wasn't a thing back then.
You know, stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to, buddy.
Yeah. Don't go chasing the waterfalls.
No, but obviously I noticed he had a glorious beard as well, but he also had a format for a show, which is the same format we do today. So we combined our wonder beard powers, and it's the show you see today. But what I also noticed that he loves giving value up front, as do I. So it's about being more as an agent, but also being more as a human.
That's right. And I have a special request this week. One of the reasons we do these shows is because we find that a lot of these articles and news stories come up in our conversations with clients. And it is a news story based show. But we also give some commentary on each of the stories. And hopefully this is providing value for you. If it's not providing value for you, we want to know about it. If you have a suggestion for the show, if you're like, guys, if you did it this way, I'd enjoy it better. We really want to know that. So feel free to send us a message, drop us a comment. You can find us on the Instagrams and stuff. Our handles are down below, but we would love some feedback on the show too, so that we can make it better, because if people don't watch it, I mean, we're just not going to keep doing it. But so far we have a pretty good community around it. And we have a Facebook group called the Be More Contributors group, which is just for that. It's people that want to contribute to the show in any way, like listing articles and things that are on their mind, discussions. We have a little bit of debates in there. And of course, funny memes too. So Daisy Carver says, if I grow a beard, I want to be on the show.
No, you don't have to anymore. We used to have
that rule. Yeah.
But I mean, it cut out a lot of amazing realtors, meaning dudes
Tim Macy broke the rule because he showed up with a sad beard.
We love him, by the way. But it was fairly sad. It was not glorious as
it was not glorious.
Ours are. Yeah. So no, and where are you at again, Daisy? Where are you out? Because if any stories pop up, we love having no sound.
Yeah, especially if people are local to big stories. We've done that a couple of times, like Jay and all those.
Yeah. So Daisy, where are you at? Let us know. And why is Edward not getting any sound?
Edward says no sound, bro. You gotta turn out, hit the little switch on the side of your cell phone that ends the mute, and you may have to kind of exit the show and come back to the show. I've had to do that on a couple of Facebook Lives recently, so I'm not sure why. Of course, I said all of that with audio that he can't hear.
Right.
So I don't know.
Push the volume up, and then you'll get sound
louder.
Tim does have a baby face. By the way, I'm not trying to make waves, but I'm saying Tim did make a big move.
He did.
Let's the last week. This. And I know it hasn't reached national news yet, but we're actually a global show. We're a worldwide show.
Worldwide.
So Tim, should we say it? I don't want it to be a bad thing. Tim,
Well, we said it at the top of the show last week.
But he's moved on from.
He's no longer with EXP. He's no longer our EXP insider.
And like a bunch of other agents left.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And, you know, one of the things I commented on his status when he announced that he was leaving, I said, this will no doubt have a negative impact on the EXP stock.
Absolutely. I mean, that dude alone produces enough. And then you see the picture of who left with him. And it was like 15 agents.
Well, there you go. Actually, it's gone up since Tim left.
Oh,
oops. Well, you know, in theory, in theory,
you know what? It might take a week or two or a month to really feel the effects, you know, when Tim starts closing deals with real.
Yeah. It'll get real.
So I find it so interesting, and I don't want to talk any shade on anything. I don't want it to come off that way, but I find it so interesting because they provide such a great package. It's like you get this, you get this, you get this, you get all these things. So it almost seems like, why would you ever leave? And I even think about it. But then people left. And another agent we know that was all in, 1,000% in, left as well. And Tim, we know and love. And again, I'm not talking shade. It's just interesting to me. So is it something? Is there something going on? That's all I'm asking. I'm just asking a question.
Apparently what's going on is Tim's improving the company by leaving, but that's just stocks. That's not real. You know, we know that. We know that's
not production.
No, I mean, we have seen on this show that people that lose $300 million actually have an increase in stock value. So
exactly. Like Opendoor, we're going to hit that. Right. Teaser alert, spoiler alert. They've reported maybe a tiny loss in the last 2 years, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars. So stay tuned for that. But you ready to get into it, buddy?
Yeah. Someone should really tag Tim. Just so I know. And we're into the headlines.
I wonder if sorry, this is funny to me. I wonder if Edward figured out the sound thing yet.
No, sorry, I wasn't thinking about him not being able to hear us respond. All right, so let's talk about this lawsuit.
Yeah.
First, let me give you a little bit of context on what the lawsuit's about, if I remember correctly, because it was filed a long time ago. This was a pre-COVID lawsuit. And basically the argument is the buyer's agent compensation, in most cases, is paid for by the listing brokerage in a cooperative agreement. That listing brokerage is artificially inflating the buyer's agent compensation because they're in cahoots, and therefore the buyers can't get a better deal on a home and pay less commission. Okay, that's the argument in a nutshell.
Right.
So update on the entire thing here. Judge denies motion by NAR to dismiss buyer commission lawsuit. So in short, I think I put a very short summary of this one. Let the games begin. And I think if you remember, Dan, I was one of those agents that was like, man, I hope this does go to trial, because if it goes to trial, then that means that there will actually be a ruling on it. And once there's a ruling on it, we all have a rule to live by, and or it goes away in a way that we don't get sued on this thing again, because it's been a point of contention for a long time.
Right.
So let's take a look at it. Okay. U.S. District Court Judge Friday denied motions by the National Association of Realtors and some of the nation's largest real estate companies, which I said in the summary, to dismiss the lawsuit.
Wait.
Yep.
Judge dismissed it on Friday, or Judge Friday dismissed it?
So
I just want to be clear for our listeners and our viewers.
Right. They ruled on the dismissal and denied it.
But on Friday, or his name Friday?
Oh, no, the day of.
Okay.
So in denying the motion to dismiss, Judge Andrea Wood argued that the plaintiffs would have paid, quote, substantially lower commissions if not for the buyer broker commission rules and the rules that have created an artificial inflation of commission rates. So here's their quote. This is the judge's quote. In sum, the plaintiff's allegations plausibly show that the buyer broker commission rules prevent effective negotiation over commission rates and cause an artificial inflation of buyer broker commission rates in the market served by the multiple listing services identified in the lawsuit. So Wood's ruling reads, thus the plaintiff's allegations are sufficient to survive the dismissal under the rule of reason analysis.
Can we translate that, please?
Dun, dun, dun. In other words, she thinks that the argument is good enough for it not to be dismissed, that there is a plausible possibility. Plausible is a possibility.
A plausibility.
A plausibility that because of the agent's participation in the MLS and the co-brokerage agreements, etc., that there is an artificially inflated buyer agent compensation.
But what it's failing to address is that this compensation has already been negotiated when we take the listing.
Right. And I think that's the argument for most of the, I think that's the argument for the NAR and also for the big companies that are involved in this. And I hope they have some really smart attorneys. You don't have to be that smart of an attorney to negotiate that this is the agreed upon compensation that the seller has promised, and it goes straight through. And
the seller has agreed to pay that. So there's not really you can't renegotiate it because they've agreed to pay that, and renegotiate it would, to me, in my opinion, it would hurt the buyer, because then all of a sudden the buyer's agent is like, well, I'm not taking 1%. Like,
yep.
Unless the buyers are going to cover it, then what happens though? Whose pocket does that come out?
I actually had had an agent on the other side of the transaction ask to reduce their commission so that they could give a rebate to their client.
Yeah.
And we have a specific form that is an addendum to the agency agreement. So every buyer agent should have an agreement with their buyer. And that's where that would be taken care of. You wouldn't include it in the offer. It's not between the buyer and seller because they're not a party to that part of the contract.
They're all different contracts.
Are not a party to the purchase of a property.
Yeah.
So they have a huge uphill battle, in my opinion, but it sounds like that the judge is leaning towards the plaintiff, but that may be only in order to hear the case.
Right. I think that's all it is. Just because when there's a motion, all it is there enough to actually have a case, or do we throw it out? Do we dismiss it? Yeah.
The NAR said, was this the NAR spokesperson told Inman? Oh, by the way, this story is from Inman News, so y'all could go check it out there. NAR said they were disappointed. They think that ultimately when the case is heard, they will prevail. Yeah, the lawsuit was filed in 2019.
Yes, yeah, we covered it
two
a
related
year and a half ago.
Seeking class action status. And the
By the way, do you guys remember even like what 2019 was like?
No. You know what was weird is I had to go to a photo shoot yesterday, and I got out of the car, and the photographer was wearing a mask. And then like halfway through our shoot, I was way over 6 feet away from her as we were doing this. And she took it off. She was like, I'm just going to take this off because we're not even close.
Right.
And I didn't process that she was even wearing a mask.
Right.
That's how weird normal has become.
So I know we're off on a tangent now, but I started watching a show called Schitt's Creek. It's not a bad word. That's the name of the show. SCHITT Creek.
Right.
And it's on its like sixth season or something now. It's always like, no, I'll get to it. And I love this show, but as I'm watching it, I'm just going, and it's a lot with movies, with everything. It's like, why aren't they wearing them? Oh, wait, this was shot 5 years ago. It's just so weird that our new normal is like, yeah, you just see people and you're like, cool, that's what they do. It's not the, look at the weirdo walking down the street with a mask on. We're all the weirdos walking down the street with a mask on. So anyway, sorry, not to go off on a tangent, but
Daisy Carver's doing good work tagging people, by the way. So
thank you, Daisy.
Thank you for tagging people. She tagged Tim. She tagged Brian Haskins, says he needs to be here.
This one's interesting.
Vince Kleinschmidt. I tried. He said, wait, the seller agrees to this? In my area, it's the broker's option as to what is offered to a buyer rep. So what area are you in, Vince? So in our area, in the listing agreement, it states the overall commission, and then it says if a co-brokerage applies, here is how that commission is to be split.
Yes.
I've had some sellers want to increase the buyer agent compensation side so that maybe they could get more buyers. I've had some sellers want to decrease the buyer agent compensation side. So it just kind of depends. But yes, in our area, that is how it works. Vince says, oh, so check your listing agreement and see if it has if co-brokerage applies. If that's in there, then I think they would have a very hard time with this lawsuit because it's not really collusion at all.
I think he means Ohio.
Oh. I thought he was saying like, oh.
Right. I think he means Ohio.
Yeah. Vince said, I could choose to offer $1. So yeah, you can't really do that.
Well, no, we have those here.
Yeah, I got you.
Where you offer
Tom Oliver says he means Ohio. Okay, guys, I get it. I missed it. Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
Ohio.
Like, Tom Oliver hasn't commented, but he's like, dude,
at all.
He means Ohio, buddy.
He means Ohio.
And that's the same exact way here. So there's the full commission, and it's right there for them to see. They have to read through the terms and agree to it. It's full commission, and then what's going to be paid out to the buyer's agent, because then that becomes the brokerage's listing. But the seller agreed to that contract. They agreed to what we're paying. And then, so it's already agreed upon. So I understand that they have, I think that what they're saying is they see enough to move forward, but
yeah,
they're going to have to overturn. I mean,
there was a interesting thing going on back in the day with KW, like in 2014, 2013. I'm not sure if it still was going on, but I want to say it was Berkshire Hathaway or someone, a rival real estate company decided to offer Keller Williams agents $1 if they sold the listing. And it was like a big hubbub about it.
Yeah.
And had they included in the listing agreement the compensation that should be paid out, I think that would go against their listing agreement unless they put in there
$1.
It will be $3 or it'll be 3% unless it's this type of company, then it will be $1.
Right.
Yeah, Lisa Perk said it was Berkshire Hathaway. And then Vince said it was a clause. Clause.
So maybe he's
strike that clause.
Maybe he's expanding.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd love to know what they do in Ohio if that is in the your listing agreement, but that's where it is in Arkansas. So, and I know this could be a good reason to have some contracts around the country that are similar.
Yeah,
fair dealing and everything.
And Ray did mention, I don't know if it's everywhere, but we have what's called a BRE here. It's a broker representative agreement for buyers. So,
yep,
and that does cover, any buyer's agent compensation that's lower than, and whatever, you can set it at whatever you want, lower than 2%, then the buyer's going to cover the difference. Or we ask for a credit from the seller, and then that comes back either way. But what people often, it kind of goes under the, when you have the buddy that's a really good artist and you're like, hey, can you paint my wall for me? Like, people often forget that, buyer's agents are paid by the sellers, but they're working just as hard to set up all those showings and find the perfect house. Yep. And when you're working with a good buyer's agent like me, our job is to hone down. Our job is to show you 100 properties.
Yeah.
It's to show you, your top 5, your top 10, and then let's go. Let's write, then to guide you through the entire process. And an agent like me is also run you through an entire buyer's consultation, broken down the whole process, gotten you pre-approved. Like, it's a whole thing. It's as involved, maybe more involved than a listing, because once you list a home, then people come to you to sell your home. But so I think there would be a big, not just brokerages, but buyer's agent would go, wait. And then I think actual buyers, because their point is what? That we have no room to negotiate. But then they would have to pay that commission.
Yeah, they say that they can't negotiate because it's covered by the seller, essentially. Vince said, strike that clause, quote unquote, in the listing is what he meant to say. Lisa says KW Cares was tapped to cover the lost commissions. Yep, I remember that. All right, so let's talk about kind of the second half of this discussion. Okay, so the first half of this discussion is the updated the update is that we're going to court. All right.
Let's
Second
do
half
this.
of this discussion.
Yeah.
If the ruling goes through that we can no longer operate how we have been operating, then what does that mean for the market as a whole and for buyers, et cetera? Okay. So Tom Oliver has a good point. Tom says, wouldn't this lead to a huge adjustment? If the entire market goes to the buyers paying their agents, many of them are already asking for money back from the sellers for closing to help. Something is going to have to give.
Right.
So, yes, essentially what they're requesting is that the buyer agent compensation be covered in the buyer's representation agreement, and that is paid for by the buyer.
I don't think they know they're negotiating for that, though, do they?
So I think what they're trying to do is say, well, buyer's agent should make less money, so let's put it on the buyer so they know exactly what they're paying the buyer agent,
Right.
and thus it would decrease the amount that most buyers agents gain, because most will be afraid to charge or can't charge what they previously could charge. I think that's the argument. But what it will lead to is professional agents saying, hey, this is my fee. And then the buyer has to pay that as part of it. So a lot of people that have to request, like Tom is saying, they need help with closing costs. Maybe they're even getting 100% down loan. Well, now they're faced with a difficult decision. Should I pay for representation and try to walk through this with someone who knows exactly what they're doing? Or because I can't afford a house and an agent, should I just use a listing agent who's going to keep both sides of that commission and also work primarily for the seller?
Even though they're not supposed to, they have a fiduciary agreement in place with that seller.
Correct. I think
they're not going to protect you. They're going to protect the seller.
It negatively impacts someone who is maybe not financially well off. So I don't see this going very far. But if it does pass, that's basically how it's going to have to happen. Now, in Arkansas, we charge the buyer. We have an agreement that says, here's our commission rate. But then in that agreement, it says that they give us permission to accept partial or complete payment of that compensation from the listing or from the seller. And it's stated very plainly in that agreement.
Right.
Lisa Perk said, remember the days before buyer's agents even existed? Caveat emptor. Buyer beware.
Yeah, I mean, so
Vince says terms between a buyer and seller can be anything. The offer can contain a buyer agent buyer rep compensation. I have seen those offers that include a buyer rep compensation in it, but technically a buyer
renegotiation
and a seller is not. An agent and the listing agent and buying agent, they're not a party to the purchase of a home. So in my opinion, it shouldn't be included. But yes, just like we do with lender closing costs, you could include it in the purchase of a home. So
right, but I can't renegotiate a listing contract that Ray got signed. That's what that offer is essentially. If I say you're offering me 2%, I want 3%. Your seller could agree to that. It would supersede, but I can't renegotiate that contract that's already been agreed to. It's not, so yeah, there's obviously ways to get around it, but we do have the same, that BRE has the same thing in there where it says, it specifically states, the other good thing about it, Ray mentioned buyer agency, it lays out what our job duties are.
Oh, I froze or you froze. One of us froze. Tell us who froze. Can you hear me or can you hear Dan? Mike Elizabeth Rodell said, but is a lender going to want to cover an agent fee or agent fees? That's a good question. I'm not sure which one of us froze. Am I frozen? Hello. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Okay, Lisa said Dan froze. Dan, you froze. And Dan probably doesn't know he froze because he was talking. Thanks, Lisa. All right, we'll wait a couple of seconds. I know he'll reconnect here in a second. The Dan froze. Dan froze. Thank you guys. No, Dan did. Okay, thanks, guys. Dan needs a heater. I think Dan needs an internet connection. Again, we're gonna have to plug Dan in. Looking like Elsa. Frozen. No. Let it go. Wow. Already trying to take his spot. If you need a replacement, Dan, let me know. Either Dan froze or he's very still. Thank you, Matt. All right, here he goes.
Jeez.
There you are, buddy. Dan
I'm literally
disappeared.
connected
I've
to
just been
my-
I've been putting all the Dan froze comments up for everyone.
Yeah. That's what we do when Dan leaves. By the way, I see it. Dan froze. No,
Tim
Dan
Macy is back. Tim needs to go check the top of the show, Tim. Daisy
looking
says,
like
"Oh, look,
Elsa.
Tim's here."
Dan needs a heater. If you need a replacement, Dan, let me know. But yeah, Dan Mac, you don't have a beard, buddy. It doesn't work.
All right. So Vince says, I guess I'm the only one who doesn't care about the lawsuit result. I think it's an important result, one way or the other. I tend to believe that the way most of our industry is handling the discussion about commissions with a buyer is disingenuous. Most of the time, a real estate agent says, we're free to use for you. And that's not necessarily true. If you're completely free, then there would be no compensation given to you. Right. So that's not an effective way to have that conversation. So I think the lawsuit is an important one to have a good discussion about the correct paperwork and how things should be managed. But I don't know that it's going to change the structure. It seems like it's going to change the paperwork. I think that's the reality.
Well, and a good outcome of it. Yes, Tim, you always do miss it. We were talking heavily about you, but we love you ultimately. But a good outcome of it would force buyers agents that kind of half-ass it, and they get a lead and they throw it against the wall to see if it sticks and see if they can get something into escrow, and if they don't, they just kind of move on. It'll really force buyers agents to step up their game and really prove why they're worth what a listing agent makes. If it's 3% on both sides, they're going to have to prove why they make that money. And I welcome that challenge. I really do.
It also gives an avenue for big companies like Opendoor and some of these other companies to show that we're not collecting the buyer agent compensation and stuff like that, that we're collecting a discounted compensation, in which previously they'll say that we're not going to charge you as much. But on the other hand, if they don't charge them, then the listing agent just keeps it all. So it doesn't really make a difference in the price of the house or anything.
No, and especially right now.
Ooh, that's a great point. Zachary Norwood said, would hurt VA loan buyers since it prohibits buyer agency fees.
Right.
That's a very good point, Zachary. And
it would be
brought up in court, because now you're hurting the military buyers.
Oh, you don't want to hurt military buyers.
Michael Elizabeth Royal said, buyers agents already have a bad rap as lesser agents.
Yes.
I don't know.
No, they do.
You think they do?
Absolutely.
You work a lot with buyers. I don't think so. In the industry, I see it as really difficult work. Vince says buyers pay for the rep, sellers pay for their rep. Let negotiating allow the result.
So that's the thing, though, is that's
in theory, but that's not like for this instance for a military purchaser who they can't buy a house if they're having to come out with $3,000 to $6,000 to $9,000 extra dollars when they barely have the down payment, or they're getting 100% VA loan, but they can't cover their closing costs. They're asking the seller to cover their closing cost, and now you're putting an additional charge on them. So.
Yeah, for any buyers, especially in the markets like we're dealing with today, where we have an article coming up, things are going for 20, 30, 50 grand over asking.
Yeah,
you're already increasing your down payment. So if you're FHA and you have 3.5% to put down, where are you going to get the other 2 or 3%? And it's in theory, it's coming from the equity in the sale of the home, and that's just how it works.
VA could change their protocol, as Vince mentions. They could, but I'm never. It's going to be slow happening. So let's say it does go through. We may see a decrease in home purchase price across the board, unless there's a way for buyers to still get compensation from the seller or the listing broker there would likely be a decrease from about 2 to 3% across the nation in purchase price, which increases the affordability, but over a 30-year loan, not upfront cash.
Right.
And that, I think, is the rub. Lisa Perk said, and buyer's agents has to accept the fee as stated. Veteran cannot pay anything toward agent compensation. The government will spring into action on that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think that was heavily laced in sarcasm.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next article, Dan.
Well, to sum up, we're both kind of on the same page, which we're always on opposite page. We hate each other if you guys don't know us in real life, but we welcome the conversation. I think it'll open up a good conversation, but it probably won't go anywhere too far.
Yeah, probably the lawsuit itself probably won't go anywhere. But speaking of investigations,
so now this is kind of breaking news. Now the article was posted on Inman a couple days ago. And then this is from actually Housing Wire because it's a little bit more recent. So it's just kind of, it touches on what's happening and then goes into kind of what is actually going on and what they, why they had to disclose that it's under federal investigation. So Opendoor is under federal investigation. So they officially filed their announcement to go public after announcing its merger with social capital Hidasofia Holdings. That's a tough word to say. In September, but the filing also revealed that Opendoor is under investigation by the Federal Trade Commission over its advertising practices, which how many times have we brought that up on the show? So essentially, according to the filing, Opendoor in 2019 received a civil investigative demand. This is a quote. In August 2019, the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, sent a civil investigative demand, or a CID, to Opendoor seeking documents and information relating primarily to statements in the company's advertising and website comparing Opendoor's offers to purchase a home to selling. Opendoor's offers to purchase a home to selling in a traditional manner using an agent and statements pertaining to Opendoor's offers reflecting or being based on market prices. So it's essentially saying what they put out there is not what you actually get. They're saying it's a bait and switch. That when a seller signs up or a buyer signs up to buy or a seller sells up to, that it's a bait and switch. They're not getting what they advertise. What? Let's do our surprise. What? Yeah. So we've been saying this since day one because we've actually had, and I've gone through it as well, to where people, have gone through the process and they don't charge a commission. They charge a fee, a convenience fee, right? So, and then it goes on. So Inman first reported on the investigation, which was disclosed in the company's S4 statement. As of October 1st, the investigation is ongoing. So that's kind of where we stand. So
is this about their advertising practices specifically related to their, we don't collect commission, sell your home without commission, but then it winds up being a fee.
Right. So there's no commission. And that's what I'm assuming. I don't know 100% of Opendoor's practices, and I don't go visit their website to see how they market, but maybe I should right now. But essentially what they say and what they do is what's being challenged. No, you don't pay a commission, but you pay a 9% fee.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's got to be a very, very valuable company. It made $1.9 billion in revenue in the first 6 months of 2020.
Absolutely.
Which was slightly below the $2.2 billion from the first 6 months of 2019. But hey, it was a worldwide pandemic. Okay.
But wait.
What?
Let's keep going here.
What? I mean, it's a great company. 1.9 billion in revenue, Dan. What could be wrong with 1.9 billion in revenue? Obviously a very successful company.
Right. Overall.
Huh?
Overall.
What?
Ready? Overall, Opendoor posted a net loss.
What?
So they made 2.2 billion, but they posted a net loss of 118 million for the first 6 months of the year.
How do you make 1.9 billion, Dan, and lose 118 million?
I don't know, but that's back-to-back years because last year they lost 120 something million. So they lost less this year. How about that?
Somebody, please tell me what in the world is going on with this. There's got to be somebody smarter than me that's looking at the white papers that are just seeing them write off these losses. Maybe they bought a Ford pickup for every single one of their employees. Like, why is a company that loses 118 million from January to June in 2020, worth billions of dollars.
Right, and is that just a valuation? Here, I'm going to bring up the Inman one as well, because I think the Inman
fees,
one,
taxes, and commissions with AB. I think she's talking about the rate at which they're charging consumers there. I think I missed that comment earlier.
Right.
So somebody who's very smart in investing and analyzing white papers for companies, which I used to help people buy and sell broker businesses. So I know like what you generally should look at. In several occasions, I analyzed a company that was losing money, and I had to ask the seller, how much would you want to buy your company if you knew you were losing $11,000 a month? And they had no idea they were losing money. So
right.
There's something's up.
Okay, so here, the company posted a net loss of 118 million in the first 6 months of 2020, compared to a net loss of 157 million in the first 6 months of 2019. So 2019, there was no Rona. So they were just able to lose without impunity. But then they were closed down for a couple months, so the loss is less. But they're still losing at an alarming rate. And
Lisa Perk said the street is funding all these companies and propping them up. Almost every successful company isn't turning a profit. Okay, right. I'm going to make this claim right now. My company is currently in the black. We are going to do an IPO with an initial offering price of $1 trillion.
Yep.
Because as compared to other companies,
you're in the black.
Losing 118 million. That's a steal. That's a steal.
They're worth billions of dollars, but they're losing money. So you should be worth $1 trillion because you're making money.
Actually making money.
Right.
Okay, whatever. Limited understanding, obviously, of what in the world is going on. Speaking of having a limited understanding, Dan, this was actually a pretty successful. What's it called? Transition. Lisa Perk said, bye. Yes, please, buy my company. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the next story. 400,000 mortgage borrowers are needlessly delinquent. So apparently, there's a limited understanding of exactly what forbearance means and delinquency means. So there's about 400,000 mortgage borrowers that are needlessly delinquent as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic who do not use available forbearance options, according to the report from the Urban Institute.
Wait, can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Did anyone mention this or talk about this on maybe like a weekly show?
Somebody may have.
Like when this first happened, when forbearance was first a thing, and then when it was a thing for like a month. Did anyone cover this?
Yeah. And if you recall, one of the things we talked about was all the agents that were posting out there, forbearance is not free money. Don't go into forbearance and think you don't have to owe it back, right? And there was kind of like so many people saying that we said, guys, there's actually deals on the back end that could extend this for the life of the loan, et cetera. So we were kind of on the opposite end. Now we're going to be on the opposite end again, because apparently these people didn't know that forbearance existed and are just behind on their payments.
Well, so that's what it's kind of like. Rona numbers, like who actually has the Rona only?
Right.
My only Rona, like who only has that? Not 80 other things and then kind of a couple symptoms of. Who actually needed forbearance? Those are the numbers we want to see, because what we covered was the people that like called in, and we had Hudson on the show at the time, and he like called in and he said, "What's forbearance?" And they went, "Cool, you're on forbearance." He went, No. No. I wanted to know what it is.
Yeah. I almost got put on forbearance just by asking, because we were, it was kind of part of the research for the show. I was like, "Are you guys doing forbearance?" And what is? They're like, "Yes, we totally put you on there." I was like, "You better not."
And then they hit the forbearance, but oh, cool, another forbearance. Like, it's like it's inflated in some way. And then we ask, Segu, and then we ask the question, what about the people that are like, "Oh, cool, I have a job and I can afford my thing, but there's forbearance. I don't have to."
Right.
That's
probably a lot of people just thinking that they get forbearance without even having to apply for it. There's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. So in short, the borrowers borrowers may not know about the eligible forbearance.
Sometimes that
or-
Arkansas just comes right out.
right out. Or they do know, but they wrongly fear having to make double payments when the forbearance period ends, which is exactly what we were preaching against whenever all the agents were like, "Oh, forbearance, you still have to make your payments." Because I think what happened is most agents were afraid that the real estate market would crash if people stopped making payments due to the pandemic. And so they kind of went out there and said, "Guys, you got to continue to make your payments. You're going to owe all this money at the end of the forbearance period." Well, and we came out saying that's not exactly true. Yes, you still owe the money, but there are ways to pay that will be doable for most people with a mortgage.
Right. And we didn't know
these quotes here. It says, although some government messaging around forbearance options and alternatives has occurred, broader outreach may need to be in order. The report said services are an important part of this outreach, but outreach efforts must also include assistance from consumer groups like the bearded men of real estate. That's a good thumbnail there.
There you go. So at about 45 minutes, Ray, you'll find that thumbnail.
Yeah, 45 minutes.
Yeah,
Matthew. Actually, my new assistant Matthew Clinton's watching, so just note it, Matt.
We are. By the way, there's a great clip from last week's show or 2 weeks show that Matthew put together for us, and I will post that over on Instagram whenever Ray sends it to me. I'll post it over at D-Lettered-Rocks. Go follow me on Instagram. It's probably the best clip of our show ever. So, I mean, the Zillow ones are awesome. We have our chops, by the way. If you don't know, we do Be More chops as well every week, but this one's amazing. It's so concise.
Right. Oh, yeah. If you are watching us on YouTube or whatever, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell. And you can also comment, and we can display your comments if you're joining the show a little later. Plus, we love it when you guys actually share the show, because when you share the show, that means you actually like what we're doing, or when you heart, thumb up, all that stuff. That's really helpful to us because it gives us some feedback, and it also tells all the algorithms these guys aren't terrible, and more people should know about them. And
that's all you're saying when you just hit share.
That's right.
Just let us know that we're not terrible, please.
Right. And now would be a great time to share it, especially if you're in a real estate group, sharing this with some kind of real estate group that you're in, because we're about to talk about different markets around the country. And we want to know what was the days on market for September of 2020 compared to the days on market of September 2019. And as you were looking that up, Dan has the next story.
Yeah, and I ran my numbers, then I threw it out to the contributors. Ray did his numbers. So let's see. By the way, there's a good headline later that we're going to break down. So is the market getting crazier or chilling out? Homes sold 2 weeks faster in September due to unusual surge in demand. So are home buyers expecting a seasonal slowdown? Maybe. Are they going to get it? Unlikely. This is from CNBC. Sorry, there we go. That's a weird way to say that. So you ever read something and you see the word like read and read? It's the same thing. In the first read on September demand, homes sold 12 days faster than they did a year ago. So if you are running your numbers, just do September from a year ago and September from this year. September, they sold, let's see, and that's according to Realtor.com. Homes usually sell 25% faster in September than at the start of the year. But this year they sold 39% faster. It took just 54 days to sell. Remember, this is national. These are national numbers. It took just 54 days to sell a home during the month. That is the shortest time since Realtor.com began tracking this metric in 2016. Back then, it took 78 days. So here's a quote from Danielle Hale. She is the chief economist at Realtor.com. Many buyers tend to put their home search on hold after the start of the school year, but remote learning and the desire for more space continued to fuel the buyer interest in September. Unseasonably high buyer interest coupled with historically low inventory and favorable mortgage rates are creating a perfect storm in the housing market. While this is good news for anyone looking to sell their home, it has created tremendous competition among the buyers, which I'm sure we're all experiencing. So the article goes on to say the listings crunch is only getting worse, with supply down 39% annually. That's a big chunk, man. Remember, nationally down 39%. Compared with the start of this year, the number of listings was down 21%. September usually sees it 17% more homes for sale than in January. So we're just not seeing that. Sellers are just not stepping up. There were nearly 14% fewer new listings compared with a year ago, an even steeper decline than August. So I have a question on this one, and I'll hit my numbers in a second, Ray.
Yep. So I just ran my numbers. And I wanted to point out, we did have a story that also talked about the increase in sale price, but it's pretty much covered by this article too, when it said the median home of September was 350,000, which was up 11% annually.
And that's nationally. So
yep. In some markets, it was 17% higher, like in Cincinnati, 16% higher in Boston, 15% in Philly.
I mean, 10% is 30 grand at a three. So that they were $300,000 or $320,000-ish listings.
Yeah.
And now they're 350.
Yeah.
So it's getting steep out there. But then, so my question is, because they just say there's not enough listings. We've been saying that for the entirety of the show, for 3 years now. But what my big question is they just going so fast that we literally can't keep up? So is it both is my question.
Yeah, those monthly inventory numbers are pretty low as far as nationally goes, when they say that 6 is balanced, and it's like at what, 2 or 3 months nationally.
That we're at 3 months nationally.
Yeah. Because
there's another article that I'm going to touch on where it says literally if we could run out of inventory in 3 months. But for me, so here, I'll do my numbers, Ray, and then you want to do yours. So this is, again, I just do my city because it's a pretty unique city in terms of there's single family homes from, I think the lowest right now is about 350 or 400 all the way up to 2.5 million. And so a year ago, September, 114 closes. The average purchase price or the average close price was 617,000. Average days on market was 42 days. So just as of a month ago, September 2020, 119 closes. So pretty much a wash, right? About the same. Average close price, 703,000.
Wow.
So up 80 grand, $85,000. That's more than 10%. That's holy cow.
Yeah, it's about 12%.
We're talking about, yeah. Now, here's what really interesting, because it totally mirrors what the national story says. Average days on market a year ago, 42. Average days on market now, 30.
So exactly what they said on the national news story.
Yeah, and right now, as we sit right now, a year ago, 114 closes. This year, 119 closes. So 5 more closes, pretty much a wash. Right now, active listings right now, 126. We have a month's worth of inventory, right? That's it.
Wow. All right. So I'm posting in the comments. I would love it if you guys would too. You could see that Dan's days on market was 42 in 2019, 30 in 2020. Ray's, and I did the entire market, including rural areas. So it was like a couple of thousand in sales, but I just wanted to kind of get the entire Central Arkansas market included in this. We had an average days on market of 58 in 2019, 48 in 2020. And
that's a huge jump for you guys, though.
Even the 58 was a big jump. Normally, the average days on market in our marketplace was 60 to 90. So,
and I remember
to have 58 in 2019, that was like a good hot market.
Yeah, and I remember when we first became best friends, we talked about, like, our first conversation was, "What's the days on market?" That's how we got to know each other. Actually, is we talked about days on market, and I remember it was the 60 to 90. So even 58 is fast. And you guys are the same, right? Like the clock is ticking while they're doing inspections and investigations and appraisals, right? Yeah.
I think it actually halts once it goes under contract. So I think our days on market are actually days to under contract.
Oh, okay. Because ours is,
check that.
Once we go under contract, it keeps ticking until it hits pending. That stops the counter.
Oh, we don't have we do have an under contract status, but we have a take backups, which is pending. So as soon as it goes under contract, we say we're taking backups, but we call that pending.
Yeah. Okay. So for us, that's active under contract is what we call it, but it's also backup offers. And then we go pending. Once all contingencies is removed, we go to pending. That's when the ticker stops.
Good grief. We need to talk as the National Association of Realtors. We need to kind of make maybe a standard for what is under contract. that would be helpful.
Well, and then you also have to have realtors who abide by that, and they don't try to skew their numbers by putting it into pending.
Somebody tag Ron Bokros, and he in tight with the NAR. Lisa Perk said, and agents here can be pretty slovenly.
I like it.
On updating the status in the MLS.
Yeah.
Slow.
There you go.
Vince.
Remember, he's in
78 versus 48. Wow. A 30-day difference.
That's a month. Wow. So literally you can just go to your sellers right now and go, would you like your home to close a month faster? And I can close it even faster than that. Then list now. That's it.
Now, if you recall, Vince is in O. So.
Yeah,
there you go. Davey. Melissa said she just got through checking out a huge house that has a small solar field and an 8-car detached garage. That's impressive.
I'm in. And it's probably like $400,000.
Yeah, over there.
Here, that would be $94 million.
Okay. Let's as you guys, do we have anyone else do the difficult work of either tagging a friend, sharing the show, or doing your days on market research?
$800,000.
It's $800,000. So yeah.
Dude, I found one the other day, and it was shared into a small group of us. But I found one out here the other day, 10,000 square foot home, 8 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms on an acre, $650,000 in Southern California, about 15 minutes from me. If that was here, and it was dated, it was grandma's house. You could tell she had lived there for 50 years. It still felt like grandma's house from the 60s, but what? Dude, if that house were in Rancho, I don't even know. I don't even know what you list that at.
Vince gave us his months of supply. He said September 2019, there were 4.3. In September of 2020, 1.4.
So that's why I ask. Homes are going so much quicker. You can't keep up, and we're not getting the amount of market. So he had a pretty healthy market a year ago. I think things are going 30 days quicker.
I think if there was more inventory, they would see more sales, pushing that average down as faster. But because there's fewer inventory, you've got some weird homes that are still sitting on the market. I think we all. And
I do. Yeah. In mine, I saw there was, and I left them in there just to get the full average, but I had some 300 days, some 180 days, some 260 days. So that means it started last year and it sat through all of this. So either it's a really jacked up home or they've just missed the price by in Rancho, you have to miss the price by $100,000. Like if you have $1 million home, you listed at 1.5, you're going to miss some buyers. You listed at 1.2, you're going to still get some people looking at it. They're just going to offer you $1 million. Well,
let's talk about mortgage rates.
Okay. They went up. They're up at 5-6% now, right?
Mortgage rates set another record low, sparking new strength in refis.
Wait.
Yeah. What's up?
No, it's okay. Because I have a story that contradicts everything you're about to say.
Mortgage rates moved even lower last week, setting multiple record lows in recent months, spurring more borrowers to call their lenders and apply for refi. So that's one of the things that we know, that refi activity always increases when mortgage rates see another jump or dip. And I wonder if part of this increase in mortgage rate activity are people that have kind of applied and are thinking about doing a refi or selling their house or buying a house, and they're kind of waiting, and maybe they have their application in, and then when that rate drops, they're like, okay, go ahead and do it now. Let's lock it in. And so I wonder if those are the lock-ins.
Yeah, when do they pull that stat?
Right.
Because it's got to be the locks, because it has to be. I mean, that's the only hard stat or hard data that you can pull on that.
So refinance volume rose 8% for the week and was 50% higher than a year ago.
Wait, I think last week wasn't everything doom and gloom last week?
Was it last week or the week before? One of those that was like 60% higher, maybe in 2 weeks ago. So this week it was 50% higher than a year ago. Applications to purchase fell 2%. So obviously a terrible market. Right. If the applications to purchase a home fell 2%, guys, there's really nothing you can do to avoid this massive crash in housing.
Right. Why even? Susie was right. Why even try to? Why?
Susie Orman was right. I do want to mention though, Dan, that it was 21% higher than a year ago.
Oh, okay. Wait, and this was just in your little town of Little Rock, right?
No. That's a national number.
Oh, national.
Yeah. Now, this is a funny quote straight from the article here, and it's on CNBC. It says, while the annual comparison is strong, purchase volume has been falling little by little and is now just over 4% from 4 weeks ago. It's down. It's down just over 4% from 4 weeks ago. All right, here's a quote that I want to get to because our good buddy Joel Kahn said it, who's a Mortgage Bankers Association economist. He said there are signs that demand is waning at the entry-level portion of the market because supply and affordability hurdles, as well as the adverse economic impact the pandemic is having on hourly workers, low and moderate income households. As a result, the lower price tiers are seeing slower growth, which is contributing to the rising trend in the average loan balances. Now, I tend to disagree with Khan on this one a little bit because I think if there was more supply, then there would be more sales. I don't necessarily agree that it's an affordability hurdle.
Right.
I think it's basically a supply hurdle. If there were more supply on the bottom end of the market, then yes, it would.
Everything is getting, let's just say for easy round numbers, 10 offers. That means there's 10 buyers for one property. If there's 100 properties, that means there's still 900 buyers left over after every one of those houses goes into escrow, right? Yeah. So I agree that it's obviously demand is there. There's just not enough supply. So, and he's not a sensationalist at all. He's a numbers guy. He says, here's what's happening and here's what's likely to happen because of these numbers. He's never sensational. So I don't think he's trying to be here.
Right. Interesting read. Again, that one's at CNBC. Dude, I like keeping up to date on what the mortgage application volume is doing because that's a fun stat to talk about to your clients and letting them know just kind of that you have a pulse and you know what's happening. Yeah.
Well, and when you're talking to your buyers or when you're talking to your sellers about what's going on with buyers and who's going to be looking at your home, it's interesting to say, here's what's up. And that, honestly, this show helps us. You know, we have to stay on point with looking at articles throughout the week.
Right.
But I bring this stuff up. It's every day at this point. I have a conversation about something that I've read because of our show. So you guys are welcome is what I'm saying. Jeez, just say thank you. God. I'm just joking.
Say thank you is by subscribing and hitting that bell and then sharing the show.
That's it. That's all you got to do. Go please hit comment on the link below. Hey, but also, hey, did you see Vince's other comment? So not only are things selling 30 days faster, they're selling for 20 grand more.
Wow.
Dude.
Hang on. Wait, there it is.
Yeah.
Sold price 130,000 in September 2020. It's 150,000. Faster and for more money.
That's what she said.
All right.
Hey, so next article.
Speaking of broken, so let's do this one. Let's save the other two. We'll save that one for our Homegirls Co. podcast.
Yep.
And then I like the next one that's maybe a little closer to Halloween. We have a pretty cool story. Actually, maybe we could get through that one. I just have a hard out coming up. So
I actually do too. Let's do one more and then we'll push the other two.
Let's do one more and I'll do the next one after this pretty shortly.
Okay, so now these two were both brought to us by Melissa, one of our contributors over in the Be More group. Be More contributors with an exclamation point. We ask a lot of you guys. I know it's difficult to go on Facebook and hit, join. I know that's tough, but just go do that. And then I know it's so difficult to go to YouTube and then hit subscribe and then also click that bell. I know that's a lot that we're asking of you. And then on top of that, we're asking you to share
find it. If there was maybe an easier way to find it,
maybe a link or something.
Maybe a link. I don't know if somebody shared a link to the Be More contributors. Oh, look, there it is.
Right there.
Do you like our new avatar, by the way? Do you see where we're back to back?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, that's fun. All right, so let's get to the next story.
Okay, so how 2020 broke the housing market. So many homes are selling that we could run out of new houses in months. Yeah, there you go. That's it. I'm just kidding. I just want Matthew to do another clip. So this is kind of opinion-y, but a shocking, and this is from Business Insider. A shocking volume of homes are selling rapidly, according to new data. The National Association of Realtors released a report on Tuesday finding that existing home sales reached a 14-year high. That's 2006 if you're doing the math, in August. So, in fact, Bloomberg reported that if homes continue to sell at their current rate, the U.S. would run out of home inventory in just over 3 months. And that's true, but that would also mean that no new homes would, if we just stopped getting new homes, we would run out of inventory, new listings. Meanwhile, most newly minted homeowners already regret their decision. Survey data shows. I'm going to circle back to that because I read that and went, what?
Survey says.
Yeah. I checked into that survey and it's pretty much BS. So they polled 1,000 respondents, I think they called them. 94 or 96% of them bought a home before the Rona. The other remaining percentage bought it since. The remaining percentage, that 4 or 6%, they're all super stoked that they waited and bought during the Rona. But the people that bought before, they're regretting it because they may have lost a job or hardships or other reasons, or they missed out on historically low interest rates. So don't just go by newly minted homeowners regret their decision. When you look deeper into it, it's not the case at all. It's just, it's not the case at all. So buying a home right now isn't nearly as affordable as low mortgage rates promise. Again, opinion-y. With low supply continually ratcheting home prices up, and it's only going to become more expensive, potentially dashing future homeowners' dreams. Houses are selling at an almost unbelievable rate, which we've covered just minutes ago. August was the third straight month that existing home sales trended upward per NAR. It also found that roughly 6 million homes were sold, which is the highest sales rate since 2006. The figure also represents a 10.5% year-over-year increase, but home prices are skyrocketing and home buying is only expected to get more difficult. Those low mortgage rates, along with the urge to find shelter during the Rona, seem to have brought so many home buyers into the market where bargains are hard to find. Redfin actually found that as of the end of July, lower mortgage rates had given buyers an extra 6.9%. There's a funny joke there. An extra 7% purchasing power. That's pretty rad, right? But house prices were up 8.2% year over year at that point, and they've kept going up since. So that's what I always wonder is, what does she do this 6.9%?
No, I think it was before that.
Oh, okay. I was on the article. I wasn't reading. I wasn't seeing the show, but that's what I always think is, it's easy to say, well, no, interest rates at 3%, that saves you over the course of 30 years. And we still need to think that way, but it saves you 7%, on average, but home prices are up 8%. Okay. But even if they're up 8%, right? 500,000, they're up to, they're up 40 grand, right?
Yep.
But over the course of the loan, though, you're saving more in the long run. The purchase price is a one-time thing. The loan is a 30-year fixed.
Well, but most people only own their home for 5 to 7 years.
Right. So maybe this is going to spur people to own longer because they had to pay up, and they're going to wait for that market to catch up to what they actually paid.
It's an interesting discussion to figure out what broke the real estate market and if a short supply real estate market is even broken.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. Is it even broken? No, it's not broken.
It doesn't seem broken. It just seems like there's a lack of supply due to land, labor, materials, and builders unwilling to build on a lower price point.
That's Ray's. Ray says that about every 2 weeks.
Yep. If builders built in a lower price point, which there's a couple of big national builders that are doing it, but in my opinion, they do a slightly better job on the quality. But if they did start to do that, I think it would improve. Well, it definitely would improve just by adding supply at the lower third of the market. So,
well, and
also if there was maybe more affordable options, if there are more affordable options in the middle part of the market, even building in the middle would help relieve the supply, and more people would be moving out of their home on the bottom end of the market into the middle of the market, and then that could also free up some supply there.
And do you think that would silence the upper end of the market?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if it would be completely silenced or not.
Bad segue.
I don't know. It's okay segue.
Oh, it's so good. Look at him. Hello, Carice. Oh, there's no audio.
All right, I can't play too much of it, or else you know.
Oh yeah, no audio. So
we'll get taken down. We'll get taken down. So there it is.
We're teasing what we're about to talk about.
And it might get taken down if I play this too, because I don't have permission from the sisters sold it. But I'm gonna play as much as I can. Maybe I could do I wish I could do a picture in picture with this, because that would be cool. But basically, the next article that we're going to talk about is that the Silence of the Lambs house on the market, and it is way cheaper than you think. How much do you think a movie house like this would cost, Dan?
$2 million. Wait, where is it?
$2 million?
Where is it?
It's in Fayette County, Perryopolis. It's 8 Circle Street.
200 grand.
You think 200? Well, that's all right. Wait, here's a good frontal of the. Come on. Let me get to the front.
So this is where Buffalo Bill lived.
Yeah. Buffalo Bills.
Not the whole team.
There it is. The Silence of the Lambs house hits the market just in time for Halloween.
Perfect timing. Well done, ladies. Well done.
We should actually get them on the show closer to Halloween to talk about the sale and what happened. If there was any kind of spooky stuff, you should also watch the YouTube videos about the truth behind the Silence of the Lambs and all the spooky stuff there too, dude. there's some stuff. All right, so let me go back to I got to get back to the video. Where's the video? All right, let's look at the inside of it.
Whoa,
yeah. That's pretty cool, huh?
Dude, it's preserved.
It is. That was updated.
Wait.
The kitchen area, wasn't that updated?
It's got an electric stovetop.
Yeah.
So that's where Buffalo Bill. Oh, the basement. Does it have the pit?
So that part was in the movie, they say. The other basement was not filmed inside this house, I guess.
It's just a set, right? Okay.
Yeah, they had a set for that part. But there you go. Very cool.
Wait, so how much is it?
They have the Silence of the Lambs playing on the movie.
And they had the book on that night.
That's a good way to do it. I like that.
FBI. Look, they have all this stuff in there. So I wonder if this is just the house staged like this or they did this.
It's $298,000.
No way.
For $298,000, you too can own the Silence of the Lamb house.
Wow.
Look at it. There it is right there.
That's amazing. I am in. Who wants to invest with me?
Do you guys want to buy it? Oh, I didn't. That's not a virtual tour. That link is a lie. I clicked on the link for the virtual tour. It just shows their video.
It's virtually a virtual tour. That's
virtually a virtual tour.
Yeah. Hold on one second.
Let's see if I can see more photos. Well, we said there it is. So $298 for $300,000, you can own the Silence of the Lamb house that looks like it's been preserved pretty well. That wallpaper, Mars, that pit somewhere else. Yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same pit. Lotion on its skin. All right. So dude, I guess
that into this.
I know. Melissa Mars said lotion on the skin. Commented on the wallpaper.
So I actually have a pit. If you guys, I have a pit. Wait, I'm divulging too much. Sorry.
Vacay in the middle of PA. That would be a really cool bed and breakfast if the neighborhood allows it. Like, come
dude, you would get the best
breakfast.
You get the best kind of guests that are just there for curiosity's sake, and then I think it's a no-brainer investment. It's got to be sold already. Absolutely has to be.
That would be pretty. I mean, that's really cheap. I wonder how they valued that, because that seems really cheap for a movie house. We also covered. This is not the first time we've covered a movie house. We also covered the Home Alone house as well.
Yeah,
those on there.
By the way, do you guys remember the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Yeah.
You know, all those movies are set in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Guess where their house is? The actual house.
Rancho Cucamonga.
No, that's where Workaholics. They live in Rancho Cucamonga. Although the house was in North Hollywood, but they were in Rancho Cucamonga. No, that house is in Long Beach. Yeah. So next time I'm down there, I'll take a picture and I'll share it to the contributors.
Dan, tell everybody where they can find you.
Right down there, D Lettered Rocks everywhere, but not on Facebook. Don't follow me on Facebook, please. Go over to Instagram. I'll be sharing a fun video later. But yeah, go over to Instagram and everywhere else.
Yep, I'm on Ray Zorback on Instagram, RayZorback. You can find us there. You can also find us on the YouTube. We'd appreciate it if you watch that too.
Go subscribe, hit that bell on. Let's go do this. Let's go share, please. We love you so much. Thank you.
Episodes. We've got an end screen somewhere with previous episodes, so check out those.
Yeah, it's up here. Bye.